Hey guys, this is Brandon at The Edge Pro. Today we're going to remake a video from the vault talking about the Arco cutters, or the Bravura cutter, the Wahl 5-in-1 cutters. We get that question a lot of how to sharpen them. And to start things off, they actually, from the factory, are considered not sharpenable. So at the end of the day, we can kind of hang our hat on that, saying that we don't have a lot of metal to work with. It wasn't intended to be sharpened. But we can sharpen those, so I was just going to show you how we here at The Edge Pro sharpen it. Maybe this would be something that would be helpful in your business. So we're going to sharpen this on our Nebraska Blades Big Red machine here. We have it, because I have the variable speed on this machine, I'm usually going to go ahead and cut that down to about 3/4 speed. That's going to help us to not build up heat as quickly in this blade. It's also going to keep us from removing as much metal very quickly, because we don't have a lot of metal here to work with. The other thing that we're going to do is I like to make sure that I have fresh grit on my plate. So I'll put fresh grit on there and then maybe sharpen 1 or 2 blades on it. So it's fresh, but it's not real rough, crisp grit. That way, again, it gives us a good pattern. We have a very consistent surface on our wheel, but it's not going to be too aggressive for this little blade. So the next thing I'm going to do is we can either leave this plastic cam follower on, or we can take it off when we sharpen this. If we take it off, we're going to end up using the small magnet like we've talked about in previous videos as our holder, and we're going to have our pressure up over the front rail. So we're going to hold our magnet with our middle finger and thumb, and our index finger is going to put all of our pressure forward for us. For this video, I'm going to use the other method, and that is we're going to hold the back of the blade with our thumb and our thumb and our middle finger, and bring our index finger all the way forward here to give us our forward pressure. And so we have to make sure that forward pressure is there. So if you do this method, know that the tendency is going to be to bring pressure towards the back if we're holding back here. So we need to make sure we counter that pressure forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to use light pressure when we go to sharpen this blade. When we sharpen this blade, if we use light pressure and we're out here on the outside of the plate, we're going to create a flat ground, and this blade needs to have a hollow ground in the cutter. And so we compensate for that by moving closer towards the inside of the plate. So I'm going to be somewhere here in the middle of the plate, right about here. And we only want to be on the plate long enough to create a new surface and no longer. Because after that, we're creating more heat, we're building up more heat, and we're creating a thicker burr. And that's really where the problem starts with these blades, is that it creates a thick burr. So I'm going to come down to the plate here real quick. And if we look at this, I want to see that I have a new surface. I've lapped in a new surface all the way across. And if we play with it in the light, I don't know if the camera will catch this, but over here we have a little bit of inconsistencies and a little bit up here. So that's telling me we need just a little bit more time on the plate. So we're going to come back down. Again, I'm making sure my pressure comes forward. I'm not going to damage the tips when I come in here. One more time. And now we have a new consistent surface all the way across the front rails, and the same as the back. So I'm happy with where we're at now, but if you were to run your finger down the top of this blade like this, you'll be able to feel a burr catching your fingers, keeping you, when you go, kind of scratching your finger as you go over the tip there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on over to our bench grinder, and we're going to start the process of deburring this blade. Alright, so now we're over at the bench grinder, and what we're going to do is brush that burr that I was talking about downward towards the surface that we just sharpened here. So we're going to come in here to this wire wheel on our bench grinder. That pushes our burr down towards that sharpened surface. So now when you run your fingers over the top here, it's very, very smooth. You don't feel that scratch that we had before. However, if I run across the bottom, I can feel that burr's all been pushed down there. So now we need to continue this deburring process by going back over to the sharpening machine. Now we're back at the sharpening machine, and I still have it running about 3/4 speed. And I need to come down, and what we're going to do is we're just going to touch the plate to pull that burr off. A lot of it's going to break off and flake away at this point. So we're going to come in here. Again, I'm making sure I have good fundamentals. I'm not going to dive the tips down into the wheel, and I want to make sure that my pressure comes through my index finger. Here we go. Just that long. And now it's very smooth here on the bottom, but if we come back over the top, we can feel that a lot of that burr has moved back over. So I typically run a little bit heavy-handed, so I have to do this process a couple times to get a nice clean surface out here. So we're going to go back over to the bench grinder to our wire wheel and brush that burr back down. All right, here we are back over at the bench grinder, and we're going to just brush this burr down one more time. Feeling to make sure it's very, very smooth coming over the top, and that burr is a lot lighter than it was the last time we did this. So we're going to do this process with this blade. It's going to change from time to time depending on how much metal we have to remove, and on this blade we had to get on the plate quite a few times to create that initial new lapped surface. So we're going to have to do this whole process one more time. Alright, so this should be the last time we have to do this. The burr is on the bottom here. We're going to come back. I'm using the same place on my wheel. Just one quick touch. And we're going to go back to the bench grinder one more time. Back over here. The last time we're going to brush it down. This also works with a hand wire brush as well. Alright, so now we have a really clean surface here. I can't feel a burr coming this way or this way. And we'll just go ahead, and then after all those times on and off the plate, we do run the risk of having inconsistency in our sharpening. So we do go ahead and do a rub test on these to make sure that we have a good pattern as well. And I don't know if we can catch that in the light, but you may be able to see that rub pattern. We have nice burnishing all the way across the tips of the teeth. And that's going to tell us that as long as that burr is gone, this blade should cut without an issue. So hopefully you guys find this helpful in sharpening Arco blades if you want to do that. Remember, you are your own boss. You are an entrepreneur, and the joy of that is you don't have to do things you don't want to do. But these can be something that may be beneficial to your business to be able to do. So hopefully you find this helpful. And with the newer technology today, maybe you guys can see what we were doing in our old video from the vault. If this has been helpful for you, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be sure to be giving you more content every week.